would be roll comment.
I just wanted to stop by. I'm getting to swear in Kathy at 7 in Santa Clara, but to congratulate Anjali on your election as board president, and Phyllis on your re-election, and Liang on your election. It's great to see such a large community out here, and want to just extend congratulations to the winners of the campaign, and say with Soma and Krista and Anjali, Phyllis and Liang, I look forward to working with the board and really solving things for the community in a collaborative way. So thank you and congratulations.
So our next speaker is Greg Cohen.
Thank you, everyone. I'm here tonight with a specific ask. I am requesting the board add an item to next month's agenda. That item is to discuss the creation of a study group to evaluate the effectiveness of current community engagement programs and recommend ways to deepen engagement and include more diverse views in decision making. Let me address why I am making this request and why I view it as both important and urgent. Over the last 2 years, I have observed a decrease in trust between the public, the board, and staff. Robert Putnam from the Kennedy School of Government has shown that social capital is by far the single strongest influence on educational outcomes. In fact, 2 orders of magnitude stronger than spending on schools or teacher-pupil ratios. That's powerful as we face budget challenges, and that is what inclusion and trust brings. The California School Board Association supports this position. There are 2 issues, one current and one imminent, that affects the community and in which the community cares deeply about: the technology plan and budget reductions due to declining enrollment. These are complex problems. They might even fit the definition of a wicked problem. In particular, there is no single right answer to either problem. Each problem has competing underlying concerns that are interrelated. Each problem has a high level of uncertainty in which we can't know the full effects of our chosen course of action. Complex problems require deliberative discussion and a deeper level of engagement from stakeholders than currently being practiced in our district. We need to engage the public in new ways in this discussion to ensure all stakeholder voices are heard and common ground is found. My goal here this evening is to see us embark on a new path to restore constructive dialogue, rebuild trust within our community, and forge a strong partnership between the public, the board, and staff. I feel fortunate to be in a high-performing school system with capable leadership. Yet I see risk if we make the choice to conduct business as usual. How and when in the process CUSD engages the public on important issues will decide if trust is rebuilt or further eroded. Please make establishing a study group on community engagement a top priority and add it to January's agenda for discussion. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vidya Sundarisan.
Can I swap with her? She's on the swap. Yeah, she's on the list too.
Okay. Hua Wen.
So good evening, everyone. I'm here today to join our community, to support Liang in calling for change in our community and in our district. So among many things that needs change, iPad one-to-one program is one of them. So this program started in 2013 as a pilot program in 6th graders at Lawson School. Then the incoming 6th graders the following year at both Lawson and Hyde joined the program. Today, we are into the 4th year of the program. Parents and community have repeatedly asked for assessment data. We need to see justification and proof for the success, for the benefit of the program. But so far, the only thing we have seen is one piece of survey. Sorry, it's in my purse now, but it's one piece of a survey conveyed at only Lawson Middle School in 2015 spring. So if you look at the timeline, that's at the end of the 2nd year of the implementation. So we have to ask why any survey was not done before the program, before the piloting of the program, and before the overall expansion of the program. So even with this only piece of data, the data is not showing the program is actually a valid program, because it's about the same number of people support and disapproval of the program. So with lack of data and also widespread parent concerns as evident on both social media, a petition we started, and survey, and today if you look at Mercury News, there's tons of comments on that piece of news coming out on the front page. People are having big, huge concerns. So why the district is not listening? Only thing we heard is about starting a task force next year. Next year in 2017. That's in the 4th year of the program. Why this task force was not formed before the program? At least before the expansion of the program across the district. Educational policies should be evidence-based, should be based on research, educational theories, and best practices, not trend. We cannot say, hey, everybody is doing this, let's do this too. So, and until problems pop up, you try to fix the holes. That's not how things should work. So we are really calling for change in accountability, and we look forward to see. Yeah, just let me finish my last sentence, please.
Okay.
So we really look forward to a change, to see accountable leadership to make responsible decisions for our children. Thank you, and congratulations to them.
So next speaker, Vivian.
Hello everyone, my name is Vidya Sundaresan and I'm the parent of a child at Lawson Middle School. And some of you have heard me speak here before about the iPad issue, who very eloquently summarized a lot of the concerns. I think having a new board member is something that our parent group is very excited about, as we're hoping it's going to bring a change in attitude, really, to start listening to parents and their concerns and not brushing them aside as a fringe voice, which has been the attitude in the past, and it has been a source of great frustration to us that parent concerns are not being taken seriously. I would very much urge the board members to read the Mercury News article if they haven't already, and read also the comments that are pouring in, which shows that this is definitely not a fringe group. There is widespread concern, and please do take these concerns seriously, because they affect long-term health and behavior of our students, and it's also learning behavior that is being altered by the iPad program, as children are learning to just tap and click on things, and the retention and how much they are actually learning as far as the subject material goes is highly questionable. So we are really hoping to have better engagement with the board, and we're very much hoping that the board is going to ask the kinds of probing and deep questions that need to be asked before a program that is as expensive as the current iPad program is being not only implemented, but also being expanded to the other schools. So the $1 million question, or maybe it's more than $1 million question, is where is the evidence that this program is effective? Where are the metrics? Where is the data? And how can the school district afford to go ahead with such an expansion of an expensive program when the data that backs it up as an effective learning system is singularly lacking? So I think that is the big burning question, and that is something I really urge the board to look at very seriously and ask the kinds of questions that need to be asked from the district administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is R.T. Nagaraj.
Good evening, members of the board, staff, and community members. My name is A.Video. Nagaraj. I am a member of the Saratoga Union School District Board of Trustees, your neighboring school district, K-8. I am here today representing myself as an individual and not the entire board. I've been on the SUSD board for the past 6 years, and I have just been re-elected for the next 4 years. I will be re-sworn in on Thursday. So thank you for allowing me to come and comment today. I'm here today to welcome Liang Chao and also to congratulate Anjali Kausar for taking the helm as board president. I have worked alongside Anjali for the last 6 years. She's the one who inspired me to run for the board 6 years ago. And I just wanted to say we have discussed curriculum, we've discussed technology and community outreach with each other to share ideas, learn from each other, and be thought partners. We as board members wear many hats: parents, professionals, community members, board members, just to name a few. When we do our board member training, we learn how to keep each role separate and what it takes to be a very effective board member within the legal constraints of the system. Trust me, this is not an easy feat. Every day we are learning something new. I look forward to working with all of you in the years to come and invite you to learn, share, and partner with me to ensure that our students in Cupertino and in Saratoga are the center of every decision we make. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie.
We go? Yes, that
We'll
was the
go.
last of the public comment.
Okay, so we'll go back to Superintendent's report.
Okay, I have a couple of updates. So as you know, I've been out and about quite a bit in the past. Usually I'm out and about and I'm in schools. That's what keeps me out of my office. But over last week I had the opportunity, I went to Sacramento on Tuesday and met with legislators. There were about seven or eight superintendents from throughout the state of California who were there to give feedback around LCAP and LCFF to the legislators and to many of their staff members, as well as the State Board of Education. So the topic was interesting. I felt necessary that I attend and make the effort to go there for that day and rearrange my schedule, because in Cupertino we are one of the lowest funded school districts in the state. What was sad is when we were at CSBA, we were in the new board member orientation. Liang and I were there, and Kevin Gordon spoke. And you all know, you've heard Kevin Gordon before when he talks about budget. He's one of the top individuals in the state as far as understanding budget and the politics in the state. And what he said is there are about 200 school districts in the state of California that are really not funded at a level that's possible to survive. That's us. We're one of those 200. And he put it in context. So he says, what do you think that means when you compare those 200 school districts to the rest of the United States? And what he was referring to is California is already one of the lowest funded in the state. So in being there, that was my point, was to be there and to talk to the legislators. And I have to tell you, in walking into the room, one of the first things they said was, you know, it's going to be okay, because they know that all school districts are suffering. We've hit a time in education where there's a very poor job on the part of the state of informing the public about all that was done with the state budget. One of those was the STRS and PERS increases from an 8% to nearly 20%, which you all are well aware of. Chris reminds us each time we have a budget update. I'm sure you will tonight as well. What they also are aware of is the fact that the COLAs are coming in extremely low, and that's a cost of living increase. So we're not getting the revenue. So revenue is no longer coming in to cover those increased costs and expenditures due to that. So, but they came in saying, but it'll be okay because we're going to go ahead and we're going to create some bills we're gonna do some set aside money, where we'll set aside some money for preschool, we'll set aside, and my comment to that, at the end was, if you know you can't pay your mortgage, I said, would you buy a boat? And they all said no, and I said, that's the answer to what you should be doing with all those bills, is you ought to be putting a cap on them and pushing them aside, because that money should be going to the base funding for all school districts in the state of California, not continually going to certain districts. We are already funded at $100,000 less per classroom than Alum Rock. So I'm all about equity, I understand that, but we were advocating for base money for all, not for certain districts. And so that was one portion of the feedback, was that pressure and what we're all dealing with. The other half of the conversation was around LCAP. We've had so many changes around the local control accountability plan. As you know, we've had heavily involvement in that in the state level, because both Joe and I have been sitting on the collaborative for the LCFF LCAP collaborative for the state of California for the last 2 years. We're now in year 3. But in this case, we were talking directly to the State Board of Education members and giving them feedback around the rubric and the change of plan. And most of our comments was, one, stop changing it, because every year they're altering the templates, which cause great amount of work for myself and our staff to convert those templates each year, to change the requirements on us, and now we're going to encounter rubrics. And their question really to us was, what help do you need? And we all kind of smiled, because we all know that what they've done around LCAP and many other things is they've created unfunded mandates. So they're asking us to do more work, they're asking us to follow more systems that they're creating each year, and they're not funding it. And it's become incredibly difficult. Some districts have hired individuals, that's their sole job, is to run the LCAP process. In our district, I, along with staff, would do it ourselves. And it's a tedious job, but those rubrics, when they come out in January, are gonna create a whole nother outcome for all of us, because it's not an API, we're not gonna get a number, but what we are gonna do is get a color coding. And I asked them, what's the difference? If blue's the best, everyone's gonna look for blue. And we're gonna want to be blue schools, blue districts, we wanna be blue. There'll be a new comment. So realtors are gonna put up a sign that says blue school. And so that's coming at us. And so we were able to give some feedback around that, around engagement, and around what it really means to have local control, because while they're saying we have it, we really don't, because we're being asked to follow the rules and regulations and filling in boxes. So our major comment back to them was, please make it more of a system that is that matters to us and is real to us, and that you're not asking us simply to fill in your boxes, because that's what they keep asking us for. So that was one. That's where I spent Tuesday into Tuesday evening. Wednesday I headed to Washington, D.C. It was not district funded, by the way, not a dime, not even one burger or fry. But what it was is there's a nonprofit called the Educational Advisory Board. They interviewed well over 150 superintendents across the country earlier in the year. And then what they did is they invited back 25 to come to D.C. to have a deep discussion about what the challenges of education are. What they have been doing as an organization, they've been solely working with universities. They represent over 1,100 universities, major universities in the country. So if you want to talk about the top, they're working with them. And they do analytics, they do research, and provide information. So one of the comments about the iPad and what are the metrics, what came up in that room across, these are superintendents from across the entire United States, that was one of the areas that was identified, is we all know that we have to have devices. The majority of districts in that room had devices one-to-one, had been doing it for years. And no one's going to deny the need for access on that challenge. The challenge for us was, what's the metric? Because it's a new territory. So when someone comes to us and says, just give us the metric, everyone in the room says, we really don't have an identified metric. We can create them, but as we create them, those start to fall apart because they're internal. So that was one area of challenge that was identified. What was not identified across the board was budget, because in the districts who were from the East Coast, some were receiving up to $20,000 per student. I look at Chris and shrug. And so it wasn't a universal challenge across the board. Special education issues were a challenge across the board. How do we best meet the needs of all children? How do we do that with the budget constraints? And that is a budget constraint because we're not fully funded for certain programs. And that one came up. Teacher retention and recruitment was a heavy one. And we spent, I would say, probably close to 2 hours trying to discuss that and what were the ramifications for us moving forward. We talked about everything from the idea of how do you help teachers live in the communities in which they reside. We talked about what helps teachers to stay in school districts, what makes teachers want to leave school districts. We talked about school district culture. We talked about the pipeline, meaning the universities aren't producing the teachers for us any longer. And I think those were the major topics that came up. We had several other kind of splintering conversations, but it was really, we focused a lot on technology, a lot on the teacher recruitment, and then a great deal of time on teacher education. So that's fine.
Thank you, Wendy. Going on, we're going to be doing the recognition, Classified Employee of the Month. And I would like to ask David Manjara, or the day custodian from Maya Holtz, to please come up. So David, this is how it's going to happen. I'm going to read comments that we got from your school, and then we're going to give an opportunity from anybody in the audience who would like to speak about you, and also for you to introduce your family members or anyone who's here. And then you get to say anything you would like to. Exactly. Here it goes. Mr. David Manjaras is not just a responsible and dependable maintenance manager at Maya Holtz School. He is someone who takes an interest in engaging the students in well-mannered social behaviors. Watching him have conversations and interacting with students, David is able to model responsible behavior for cleaning up after oneself and encourage students to treat one another with kindness, respect, and humor. Last year, he engaged a student with social differences by simply bouncing a basketball and asking the student if he wanted to bounce it back to him. To my unexpected surprise, not only did the student bounce it back once, but then repeatedly, and to this day, he still continues to play two squares with other students. Friendly and likable, David is a cooperative co-worker who helps contribute to the community culture here at Maya Holtz. Congratulations, David, for being there.
Good evening, everyone. We here at Maya Holtz are really overjoyed to celebrate David for all of his hard work, not just as a custodian, but as a critical member of the Maya Holtz community. As you heard right there, David takes great pride in his job. He's efficient, he's effective, he was responsible, and he's dependable. And to all the kids, and to the staff, and to the teachers, and to the parents of the Maya Holtz community, we count on David each and every day, and that is so invaluable. Words cannot explain what you mean to everyone, David. When I look up at that wall and I see engaged in joyful practice, David embodies that. He shows up each and every day, first one on campus, with an amazing smile. He has a heart of gold. He is genuine, thoughtful, and I speak for everyone at Maya Holtz when I say that we really genuinely love David for who he is, not as a custodian, but as a human being. He has made the Maya Holtz community a better place for his service. And the last thing I want to say, as you alluded to, Anjali, is, in my opinion, a critical element in being a great educator, which David is a love for children. And that sets him apart because he loves each and every kid that walks through that door. So David, thank you and congratulations for everything you've done.
Anybody else? Or David, you would like to say a few words?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I have Miss Lynn here and Banu from Maya Holtz, and I appreciate them here. None of my family's here, but I just like to say, well, my family, everyone here is my family. the school district. It's when I came into this job 3 years ago, started as an on-call, was hired at Meyer Holtz. Just being around the kids. I'm not married, I don't have kids, but it's just being around the little ones. I mean, it's a joy. Excuse me. But it's just getting along with them and learning from them, and me trying to teach them to be safe and understand how to be friends and not anything else other than that. So other than that, I mean, all I can say is thank you very much for this, and I appreciate it. And Mr. David Lang is the young student they're talking about. And once we started throwing that ball, before we know it, he's playing Foursquare or whatever they call it out here nowadays. To me, it was Foursquare, but they call it something else now. But he enjoys it. He's out there playing, and that's the good thing about it. I mean, that's what I love seeing, and that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.